The amount of emotional whiplash that I had dealing with Senshi's backstory in Delicious in Dungeon episode 23 has me shook. The punchline is actually relieving, but the back and forth of not knowing if he ate human meat and the amount of trauma that clearly caused him over his life. Even when it was revealed that apparently it was hippogriff meat, rather than it being a griffin, which they try and it tastes nothing alike. I, at first, was fully convinced that Leos was just trying to make him feel better, or he was just pulling things from his ass and hoping something sticks. Because my biggest hurdle was, why would that guy leave and never come back if not out of shame and guilt? But when you think about head injuries and how he came back in and he had a dent in the helmet that Senshi wears. The fact that we assume it's these two arguing and fighting, and then obviously he kills that man and he cooks them up. He leaves, gets rid of the body, and that's what we assume. But if they actually were fighting an animal, and he got kicked, which if you got kicked by a cow or a horse in the head, you might not die upon impact. But brain injuries and brain bleeding can slowly kill you. So if he was feeling unwell, and then he made sure that in his dying moments, that his poor little Senshi, the character, that the kid in his point of view, might have been 36, but as he said, he called them like that is the young person in their group. If he cleaned up the mess, said that before he dies, Senshi wouldn't have to discover everything that happened in terms of the brutality. That actually makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem at face value that they ate a beast. It feels like they killed a human, and they ate the human to survive. And the fact that he had to go his whole life unsure, chasing after and killing all these monsters in hopes that something will taste like that so he can clear it up, or he can find that taste again so he doesn't have to assume he ate human flesh, is the most wild experience. That was 10 out of 10. And somehow they also made it goofy with the hottest version of Senshi we're ever gonna see. I have full live reactions over on Patreon if you want to see my full in-depth thought to this or any of these episodes. It's gonna be over there exclusively. This was a longer episode than usual. At first I was like, there's no way we're only 20 minutes in, bro, because like, it just felt like we were watching more than a normal length episode. It definitely was a longer length episode. Not by much, mind you, but it added some extra weight to this. We have one episode to go until we finish this season, and we're at roughly the halfway point of the manga. And I am so needing a season 2 because it is only going to get better. Senshi is without a doubt my favorite character in this show, and to see his backstory and why he is so obsessed with monsters and everything, you turn such a happy-go-lucky character into such a heartbreaking character. As they're going into this backstory, right, and as they're exploring, I'm thinking of so many things. I'm like, okay, like, I'm not going to be surprised if they start killing each other in this, and hell, at one point, I'm like, I'm not going to be surprised if they end up eating people. And the idea of, like, it feeling like they were dragged in, it's like they had this glow in their eyes and like they couldn't be reasoned with. And only one person really remained consistent at taking care of Senshi. And the idea that I was convinced that man was going to have the most brutal deaths. I mean, he's wearing his helmet in present day after all. Like, I mean, there's going to be some trauma. And they bait you in so hard with what's happening. They do it so well that it's actually such a conflicting and confusing backstory even after you have the information. And the idea that someone, because they're starving so much and he licks a rock just because he's that hungry, he's that down bad, that he's like, this kid's smuggling food, he's hiding food, like, give it to me. And it sounds like they beat the living shit out of each other and only one comes back. And the way he says, you know, a griffin attacked us, but I killed it. But he doesn't let us see the griffin. He doesn't let us see what's outside. And when we finally leave those doors after he never comes back, there's nothing. There's nothing there. But it's so brilliant because it's so in your face. A head trauma wound would slowly kill you if it was bad enough. And the whole point of his character was he doesn't want Senshi to see things or experience the torment and terrors of this world because from his point of view, he's just a kid and he wants to protect him. That is the future. It wasn't about lying. It was simply, you shouldn't see the blood and guts of what we had to do out there. You eat the food, I prepared it, and most likely he had plans to come back. I have to imagine he left to clean up the mess and probably never returned, or realize as he was doing that he had no strength to return. He did leave a few things behind, a pickaxe, I think it's like one of the cooking things we use, as well as his helmet. But at the end of the day, there was no coming back. And it's such a bait and switch because you think you're going to go the darkest route of that they could go in that, which was cannibalism. And the fact that it's even darker because it wasn't. It was the fact that for all those years he was living a lie and feeling so, every time he ate, he couldn't forget that taste. And it was just like, it wasn't a good flavor. But to finally have that taste again because of how they manipulated the meat with that, you know, the idea of like changing the essence of it because if a hippogriff did step in it or whatever, is so brilliant. And that's only half of this amazing episode. But it's without doubt the best point of this episode and probably my personal favorite moment of Delicious in Dungeon today. The idea that we have some of the funniest shit you can imagine. Chilchuck got that glow up of being a deadbeat dad. The number of people who got so salty that I called Chilchuck a fucking deadbeat dad was hilarious. Because it's clearly all jokes, but man, it's like, just take the jokes, bro. He left to get milk and never returned. I don't care if his kids are adults, man. He could have actually physically seen them in person, damn it. That's a bad dad. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But literally his look in this episode gives me the vibes that he went out for milk and never returned. And it's just hilarious. Senshi's the hottest version of himself today. He just strikes poses all damn day. And honestly, just seeing them in that way, on one hand, I'm like, please, author, keep them like this for the next 24 episodes. Do it. You won't. And then the other hand, please, author, for the love of God, change them back. I can't deal with this. It was just such a whiplash. We get through the door, and whatever's through that door is just going to be even crazier. We're getting to the deepest parts of the dungeon, and it's just batshit wild. I initially wasn't sure when I made the recording, but thinking it over, I actually think this might be my personal favorite episode of any anime I watched this season, I'm not gonna lie. I absolutely love this show. It has quickly become one of my personal favorites. I said it very early into the show, like by the first couple of episodes, this could be Trigger's magnum opus, and there's a reason they decided to adapt this manga, and I think we can all agree on that. That was a brilliant episode. Let's see how they wrap up the season next week. Let me know what you thought down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're around here, of course ring that bell, and like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we got Laser, Mike, Annette, Gaiten Plauzenk, Liam, and Jay Fish. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and make sure you're not eating human meat. Have a good one.